We are a church that wants to live local, but act global. And I'm going to be inviting Ben, our global manager, to come up. He's going to be highlighting some of our global initiatives, and we wanted people to be aware of what we're doing. What we want to do is we're going to just play a bumper, and things are going to shift pretty quick here just in a moment as you watch this bumper. But the first person that's going to be coming up, and I'll get Tony to start moving on me here. So Tony, get up and get moving. I say that in all love to you. Where are you? There's Tony. Here he comes. But I want you to watch this clip. It's only about 50 seconds long. But we became a church that decided we wanted to reach out to the Syrian refugee crisis issue and become part of that witness for Jesus that way. And I think, again, it was a year ago, we know that little boy was washed up on the shore, and I think that turned a lot of people's hearts. Well, there's another clip here we want you to watch that hopefully pricks your heart again to say, this is why we're doing it, and then Tony and Ben will start the global moment.
According to activists, this is Omran. He lives with his mom, his dad, and his brother and his sister. Their home is inside Aleppo, Syria. It was hit by a bomb, an airstrike. Who's behind it, we do not know. He and his family were pulled alive from what's left of their home after being buried in the rubble. Omran is left inside that ambulance, alone, bloodied, as rescuers go back into the rubble looking for anyone else who may have survived. His family did. This comes just a week after the last remaining doctors inside Aleppo. They wrote a letter to President Obama begging for help. Today, the United Nations is asking for 48 hours of relief in the fighting, to a break from the violence between the government regime and rebel forces. In 5 years of war, more than 250,000 people have lost their lives. That includes 4,500 children in Aleppo alone. Millions more displaced without a home. Now that includes Omran. And what strikes me is we shed tears, but there are no tears here. He doesn't cry once. That little boy is in total shock. He's stunned inside his home one moment, and the next, lost in the flurry and the fury of war and chaos. At least 3 people were killed by this bomb in this neighborhood. This is Omran. He's alive. We wanted you to know.
You know, first of all, I just want to say thank you to Dave and the leadership of the church. You know, it takes guts to show videos like this on a weekend where we're trying to be, you know, all pumped up for the new ministry year. We're all coming together for a combined service, and you know, it is a big shift to watch something like that. But you know, this is reality. This is the world we live in. This is what we need to know is going on in the world, so that as Christians we can do what God has called us to do, and that is to serve everybody. And when you think about the emotions that come to mind when you watch a video like this, you think, you know, what can I do? I mean, most people won't do anything because they can't do everything. But it just takes that first step to do something. And, you know, if you want to put emotions into action, it's people like Tony and their team and what this church is doing to just support at least one Syrian refugee family. So Tony, with that being said, why don't you just tell us a little bit about where we're at with the Partners of Hope?
Thanks, Ben. So we officially let the Convention of Atlantic Baptist Churches know right after Easter that we had raised the money and we were in a position to sponsor a family. Unfortunately, the timing was such that we actually had our money raised right after that initial influx of approvals. So what's happening now is the families that were in the system, so to speak, up until now are still going through that process, so there aren't any new names coming out for Syrian refugees. And we actually had to turn down a couple of families in June who were from other parts of the country other than Syria, because we felt that because we had done all of our fundraising and all of our communication specifically for Syrian refugees, that it would be a little bit below board to say we want to sponsor a different family. So then, as you know, we sent out communications, and in talking with leadership here at the church, And while that was happening, the convention was then thinking about, okay, well, what can we do to help this, to match a family with this group? So in July, they contacted us about a family that is living in Lebanon, kind of under the radar. I was using the term in hiding, but people think about, the Anne Frank type of in hiding, and that's not really what's happening. This family is living under the radar in Beirut, and they've been there for a few years. It's a mom and dad and 3 kids. So we are now working with the convention, who's working with a church in Lebanon, who's working with this family to help them complete the documentation to apply for sponsorship or for refugee status in Canada. They are already registered with the UN, so that part is done. One of the things that's complicated this particular case is just before they made contact with us, because refugees in Lebanon are not allowed to work, they're not allowed to go to school, they have very restricted access to medical care, just getting food is a struggle. And even though they're not allowed to work, they still have to pay $200 every quarter, I think it is, for the right to stay in Lebanon. The dad made the decision to go to Germany and get some work so that he could send some money back to support his family. Right after he left, Lebanon cracked down on arrival of any more refugees. I mean, keep in mind, this is a country of 4 million people who are now hosting 2 million refugees. So just, I can only imagine the demands on the infrastructure in the country. So Lebanon has closed the borders to any refugees coming in. Dad is currently in Germany right now, and the concern is that because the border is closed to refugees, that he might not be allowed back in to apply for, to come to Canada with his family. So they're working that out. I checked with the convention on Friday, and there's no new word. As far as we know, that's still the situation. So we certainly can be in prayer for this family too. The dad will be able to return to Lebanon. And if he can't, there is still a way for that to all happen. I mean, they explained it to me, and it's one of these bureaucratic things where a mom will apply and dad can apply as a non-accompanying member of the family. So right now, as of right now, we tentatively have a family. We are working with the folks at the convention and in Lebanon to get the paperwork all done. Like I said, it's a mom and dad, 3 kids. If memory serves, I think the kids are 11, 8, and 5, or thereabouts. So we're excited. We know there's a long road ahead still, but we're excited. And this will be a full sponsorship, so that means that it's going to cost us a little bit more money because the government will not be contributing anything to this sponsorship. We have the money in the bank, as long as there's no unexpected expenses, and we're hoping that within a few months we'll be in a position to start asking people to look and see if you have things that can be donated to help furnish an apartment and that kind of thing.
Well, thank you for the update, Tony, and I'm sure you'll keep us all up to date as the government makes some decisions. Great. Well, thank you. The next thing I want to touch on is I just want to touch base about World Vision on 2 different fronts. The first front is I'm sure some of you have received contacts from World Vision about the country of Laos. So currently we're a global church sponsor in the country of Laos. We have 80 plus children sponsored through this church. Unfortunately, the government of Laos has made a very harsh decision that they will no longer allow any communication between us Canadian sponsors and the children and families in the World Vision projects in Laos. So what that means is that we can no longer exchange letters, pictures. We can't technically be a church sponsor anymore. I'm sure World Vision has already reached out to people here to offer, to change their sponsorship from Laos to maybe a different country where they can communicate with a child. At this point, we just want, as a church, as a global team, just want to communicate to you, if you haven't already made a decision. I know for me personally, when I was on the phone with World Vision, I said, is there any way I can just continue to sponsor my child? I don't need the pictures. I don't need the letters. I just don't want to stop sponsoring him. Because there's still going to be, World Vision will still be working in Laos. They'll still be supporting the communities. The funds will still go to the same things they were going to. we just lose that direct communication, which is, don't get me wrong, is so, so important as someone who sponsors children and for the children. But at this point, if you haven't made a decision, I would just encourage you to consider continuing to sponsor the child that you no longer are able to communicate with. And if you've chosen to sponsor a child in another country, you know what, it's still fantastic. Thank you for still sponsoring another child. As time goes on, we'll learn more about the situation, and we'll, as a church, make a recommendation as to how we want to proceed with the church sponsorship and the individual sponsorships. It seems like when you start walking down the narrow path that God has chosen in your life, there seems to be many roadblocks put up. So I would see that as a good sign that we're doing the right thing and that we'll continue to jump over those roadblocks. At this time also, the second point with World Vision, I want to call Stan Barrio to come up for a minute. Stan, you want to come up and have a little chat with me? Stan, if you don't know, is a World Vision ambassador. He's part of the global team. He's been to Laos, and he has the hat to prove it. Where's the hat, Stan? Stan's actually going to Tanzania very, very soon on another World Vision trip, and I just want him to take about 45 seconds to tell us about it.
Thanks for the heads up. So I'm leaving on the 15th of September, traveling with, I think it's 20 strangers or 19 strangers for 2 weeks in Tanzania. We're going to be visiting, I got some of the itinerary a couple of days ago. So we're going to be visiting several different farms, medical centers, some schools, some ADPs, area development projects. Highlight of the trip is we're going to a graduation ceremony where for this community that's been involved with World Vision for 15 years or so, and they're self-sustainable, and we're going to their graduation ceremony. So I'm really looking forward to that. Pretty much it that I can think of.
When are you coming home?
On the 29th of September, I should be back in Moncton, hopefully.
Well, take lots of pictures. We'll be praying for you. Keep Stan in your prayers if you could. And we look forward to hosting a time where that you can come back to the church and talk about the trip and educate us about Tanzania and the problems in Tanzania and the change that's being made because of people like us here at the Journey Church who are supporting those causes. So good luck. Take lots of pictures. Thanks. Perfect. These chairs, they just kind of swivel around. Another point is we support CBM in a big way, and we do that by supporting the Susies, who are a couple who were attending the Journey Church years ago, over 10 years ago now. We're still their home church, but they've decided to answer a call to God to work full-time in the mission field. They currently are in Bolivia, and they're Latin team American leaders. I forget the abbreviation, but they look after all of Latin America for CBM. They do a fantastic job. I'm excited to announce that they will be here the weekend of October 23rd at their home church on Sunday morning. So they'll be able to speak to us. You'll be able to interact with them directly. They can share some stories about some of the impact they've made over the year. So please kind of put that in your calendar and keep that in mind, that October 23rd weekend in October, the Susies will be right here at the Journey Church. Really quickly, I just want Noah to kind of maybe take a little run up here. Noah is going to be heading off to a mission trip in Cuba. No, we did head off. Oh, you did. Teaser by Noah on mission trip to Cuba. Well, tease us.
So in May of this year, a team of 7 students and 2 leaders from Crandall University went to Cuba, and we have returned. Woohoo! It was great. It was good stuff. But I can't give you all of the details right now. So what's going to happen is, save the date, September 25th. Myself and Jessie Campbell, who is our youth coordinator, she also went to Cuba. We're going to be here, give a full presentation. But our little sneak preview, if you will, is in a world where beef is illegal and communism is alive. This is Cuba.
So for all the vegetarians, I'm sure you'll look forward to that night. So come on out, September 25th. I'm just going to close this global moment with a little prayer. So let's bow our heads and we'll say a prayer. God, we thank you for this church. We thank you for all the people that are involved in so many different aspects to serve you by serving the entire globe, God. I think about little Alan Kurdi, who, was all over the news 1 year ago, being plucked from the Mediterranean Sea, and it really moves so many people in this world. I pray that all of the other images that the media are bringing, including the one we've seen this morning, that will move people to action, that we won't just feel bad, that we'll feel bad and we will feel encouraged to do something about it. God, I pray that you'll pluck and burst this North American bubble that we live in, and that we'll realize that we have so much that we can do so much with to serve you and to serve the poor in this world. And I pray all these things in your name. Amen.